Hello Raiders, this is Ezron. Welcome to my Bastion. Today is September 9th, 2021, and I haven't made a video in a while. It's just I haven't had a whole lot to say. Today, however, I have a topic that I have not seen really discussed before, and that's around all of the Doom Tower secret rooms and rares that you might want to build to conquer all that content, which is generally considered some of the hardest content in the game. As well as then an account cleanup. So I have a whole bunch of rares in my vault that I think I'm really never going to use, and vault space is at a premium. So after I discuss all the rares I think you might want, I'm going to then go crunch a whole bunch of mine. So here's a little bit of analysis I put together about all the various rooms and how they work and the requirements for doing each room. I haven't previously seen this put together in a one-page, one-table sort of way, but you'll see there's some commonalities across both the normal and the hard Doom Towers. That the first floor on normal is all rares. I think that is clearly intentional, in the same way that the first floor on hard is all epics. And then when you look at the various other restrictions that get put in place, you'll see both some commonalities between the normal and hard Doom Tower, as well as some more narrow requirements. Like for instance, we have here in the Dark Fae floor 6 or 7, rare hit point champions are the requirement, versus in the easy Frostbiter you get any hit point champion will do. And what I'm trying to sell here to everyone and get everyone thinking about is that if you have a team that is rare hit point champions that can do Doom Tower hard, then it should be a slam dunk for that same team to do the hit point rooms on easy. Much like if you have a rare magic team that can do the last room in the Eternal Dragon, that should be relatively straightforward for that same team to do the easy magic only room. So there are a lot of overlap that you can do in order to build fewer champions and conquer the content. It's also true that if you think about some of these rare only rooms that are a subset of like the hit point or other items like rare attack here compared to attack champions, you might have to build 5 champions, or you might have some that already exist, but when it comes to doing the less narrow conversion, you have a lot more flexibility, and you can pull epics and legendaries as you want or as you need. So now I'm going to move into a little bit more analysis of Doom Tower Normal. So what I find to be more interesting about Doom Tower Normal is that there are relatively few hoops to jump through. The rare voids on the Dark Fae floor 12, yeah, I can see how maybe a lot of people wouldn't have 5 rare voids built. But the floor before that, rank 6, I think it's reasonable that a lot of people would have 5 rank 6 champions. Epic attack is a little bit narrow. You might have to build an extra champion to do that. But if you have good gear, you could probably either get through with only 4 champions, or having 1 or 2 of them at level 50. The sort of standout here is really in the Eternal Dragon. The Epic Orcs floor, I shied away from that one for a while, but then found out Zargala can solo that, at least if you have a relatively strong build. I do it in an Arena Nuker build. Also, Epic Spirit Affinity is a little bit narrow, but probably not any different than Epic Magic, so you get a little bit of that through the Eternal Dragon. And then really in the Frostbiter, I use my Faction Wars teams for Sacred Order, Dwarves, and Skinwalkers. There's not a lot of custom builds that go into here. If you look over here on the right hand side, I grouped by type, and then noted how many times you have that occur. So you have 5 force champions required for every rotation of the Doom Tower, 5 rares, and then attack, defense, and epics, hit point, magic, and rare void. All that appears twice, and then there are a small number of one secret room requirement only, but none of these, with the exception of maybe either rank 6 or rare void, are really that narrow. So there shouldn't be a lot of additional investment required in Doom Tower Normal. Doom Tower Hard, however, is a bit more exacting in what it requires. The only room that you see across all 3 rotations of the Doom Tower is epics, and it's the first room. I think that's a design intentional choice on Plarium's part. But even the ones that appear more than once, Epic Spirit, Hit Point, Magic Support, and Rare Attack, are a bit narrow. And then when you get into some of the other specific room requirements, like Force Hit Point champions, like there's not a whole lot of them. I will say it gives me a good excuse to build Husk. I've wanted to do that for a while, but that's probably a bit off. Along with all of these, the rare rooms are very difficult. The rare spirit room, rare magic, rare hit points are all just a lot of, you might not have built that many champions that fall in that category while you were doing other content. I'll say also, Lizardman Epics, when it came out, was very, very difficult. Since then, they have added several good Lizardman Epics, so that's not quite so difficult. I'll say it's also interesting to me that in the Dark Fae rotation of the Doom Tower, you have Corrupted Alliance and Nyresan Union, which we haven't seen really in previous versions of the Doom Tower. So that's, in theory, those are relatively easy to build a team around because you have a lot of flexibility there, and you've already built champions that are probably epic or legendary because you have them for other content. So without further ado, here's a list of rares that I either have built or plan on building, and sort of recommend that you think about building to get through the Doom Tower content. And I will say there's also a large amount of overlap here with Faction Wars. Many of the people that are good here will be good there also. Now, just a word of caution. I already have fused Rosin, so if you haven't done that, you have to build some extra rares to do that. He's a really great champion. And also, if you're very early game, you might need to build some additional rares just to get through content until you get a bigger roster. But I'm just going to go through these real quick. You'll notice here I have a portrait of the champion, and then the rooms where they're good. Like Soulbond Billier is really awesome. She's good for the rare rooms, the rare spirit rooms, and the rare attack rooms, as well as she's good in general dungeon content and in Faction Wars. Kale, although not my starter, a starter champion, is good for those rooms. And Cold Heart is generally all around awesome. If you have her, I would almost guarantee you built her anyway, but if not, please move to the top of your queue. Coffin Smasher is pretty good. He's interesting to me in that he's a rare magic hit point champion, and also has the damage reduction passive and decreased attack one as A1. So many people also use him in early clan boss until you get someone better. Apothecary is great all around, not just in Doom Tower, but everywhere in the game. Hellfreak is a bit of a new champion. He was part of the last fusion, I believe, and I think has some really interesting kits, and I think would be good in the rare spirit and rare attack rooms. Doomscreech is really good. In addition to using him in these rooms, he's really good in the arena for his turn meter boost and attack up. Gear Grinder's good here, especially for the voids. He's a rare with revive. I think it's single target, but sometimes you need that to get through things. And then Gnarlhorn gets talked about a fair amount. He's Spirit. He puts up Unkillable on himself and Provoke, and is super good. Also, many people use him in some of like the faction restricted dungeon runs, and he also again is very good in Faction Wars. This Knight's Revenant, I think it's Guardian is his name, is good. He's got remove buffs on his A1. So in one of the Knight's Revenant Faction Wars rooms, it's got the triple or double Valkyrie, so you need a way often to get rid of those counterattack and or shield debuffs, and that's how he does that. Purgator, I put a list as I plan on building for the rare magic Doom Tower rooms. He's not talked about a whole lot, but he hits super, super hard, and I think having a good damage dealer there can be helpful. As well as Executioner, I already have him built. He was the first level 60 on my account, so I plan on regearing him a little bit and using him. Then a couple of other rare things. Mother Superior, she's a good healer for the rare Spirit Room as well as Sacred Order Faction Wars. Ogre and Jailer is sort of like Purgator. He hits really hard and he has buff removal on his, I think it's his A1, but it might be his A2, which can be really clutch in some situations. And then Corpulent Cadaver gets some playtime in shield-based clan boss setups, but I think will also do well in some of the rare hit point rooms. Painkeeper is really good all around. I use her in my clan boss unkillable team, and then Reliquary Tender again is one of those, just is a really good all around champion. So I think you can build all of those rares with little risk of regretting the waste of resources later when you don't use them, because they have at current end game functions. Now, given I have no idea what like the next PvE endgame will be after Doom Tower, but I think you'll need them to at least get through that content. And then moving on, here's a page of other rares that you might think about building, especially if you don't have an upgrade, but some of these have very clear and obvious epic or legendary upgrades, so they might be viewed as stopgaps. A few things I will point out, Fellhound is one of the better campaign farmers in the entire game. I think only Queen Ava is really an update for him, so you can't go wrong if you get him really at all. Paragon is useful for a bunch of cheese strategies to get through Nightmare Campaign. I've seen him get through some spider levels, just things of that nature. Renegade is like a mini Prince Kymar. Like, I don't have Prince Kymar on my account, so I can't use him, but I can use Renegade instead. Bellower is really good all around for dungeon content. You put him in a stun set and he can help with waves. And all your starters are really good. Building them, especially in the beginning. I know there's some debate now that you can get Ninja, but you won't always get him going in. So, he's got some use there. And all these other things have situational uses, or, like Veteran, is good for A1 attack down with Clan Boss, but is, easy to upgrade earlier. So then there's this last case of what I'm calling meme or fun rares. Things that are either super situational or maybe interesting, or depending on your account could be helpful. Or if you're just into doing things unusually, you might want to build. Like, I think about Ironclad for that. He has the mechanic where he does damage to people if he gets overhealed. So I've seen some neat videos where people clear waves by hitting him really hard with a healer. Skullsworn is really good if you have Skull Lord Vargal, and that's an early cheese method for Lizardmen Faction Wars. We have some bomb champions out there. Like, I really want a high-end bomb champion, and I will probably build some of these to go with it. I put Conqueror in earlier to help me with up to level 20 Ice Golem. I probably would not build him again because he's really hard to keep alive at Ice Golem 21 to 25, but he was helpful on my account then. Chevalier is neat. He has the mechanics sort of like Fushan, where he can hit multiple times on A1. Sometimes you see him go off like 10 times all in a row. And I think Halberdier is neat. He has a passive that gives him an extra 40% crit damage, so in theory he would hit really, really hard and could be neat in some of these other niche situations. And then there's Seducer, rare defense champion with a provoke. He's good. He can help you get from some content, but I don't know that he would really be a mainline champion for most people. So these are all the rares at this point in the game, and given it's through Doom Tower hard as endgame, you never know what's going to get added to the game in the future. that I think are worth keeping and building. Now I'm going to go put my money where my mouth is and crunch a bunch of rares who are not on this list. Just so you know, I practice what I preach, and there we are. And I'm back. Now we're in my champion list, and I sorted down to my rares. Fanatic was, I guess I cooked him in the vault for a while, but he doesn't make my list. I'm going to have him eat a couple of other rares who also didn't make my list, or at this point some uncommons I leveled up, and he will be food. He'll go into upgrade my next 4-star level 40 to 5-star, so I can upgrade someone else for the champion training tournament. Let's go next in my list. Blood Mask, yeah, he's sort of a so-so rare. From the Shadowkin, I'll make him food so we can upgrade my next person. And there we go. Now we can go through the vault and get some extra rares out that don't make my list. There we go. Wanderer, he's not so awesome. I think I must have ascended him early game. There's a couple people that got leveled up to 30. And now we'll look down here just to find some extras I've got sitting around that we can use for food, because I perceive them to have little value. Remove them from the vault and then get to crunching them. And there we go. Back to Wanderer. We'll unlock him so it doesn't complain at me later. Upgrade his rank. There we go. So now he's 4 stars. That should let me upgrade, I think, now one person to 5-star level 1. Alright, scroll back to there. Ripper Fist, not really a whole lot going on. Find some other people to go eat. There we go. I think it should remember where I was. So he's useful for a fusion. I sometimes use them for points in champion chase events. Now we'll see about Centurion. And there we are. So at this point, all of these old rares I had sitting around in my vault that, I probably made when I was earlier in the game or didn't really understand it as well, have provided a useful function in terms of helping me advance my account. I've got Scrapper, who, I think at one time was viewed as potentially good, but now with the advent of blood shield accessories, it's really easy to get a shield on people. So we've got these couple of rares I upgraded. There we go, the Blood Mask, Centurion, and Ripper Fist. Now I'm that much closer to my next 6-star. And I intentionally did this during the champion training tournament just to make it that much easier to double dip on resources and save some points. Let's see. Probably have to get some more people out of my vault so I can do some more feeding. And here we go. Like, Hyria would never build her. Don't have yes, she's an ally attack champion, but not very good. I think that Penitent, Maiden, like all these people that I just cannot imagine myself using given the content in the game. So I think I would be better served, and you may well be too, by freeing up some vault space. And that really is, I think, the important thing about much of this here is that we know vault space is at a big premium. So if you're never going to legitimately build some of these champions, or if you don't think that there is a reason to save them, you know, the vast majority of these you get so many out of ancient shards. If you really had to get one back, you probably could. You might want to be a little bit more careful in eating voids, but even so, there's a lot of terrible void rares. And while I think it's valid to hang on to legendaries because they might get buffed, the idea of doing that to rares doesn't seem to have the same level of likelihood or appeal, given how often champion rebalances, especially for rares, happen. So crunching all that, you can make some progress on your account, as well as work towards getting the fusion champion. So I think the idea is, you know, I thank all of you that made it this far. I don't know that watching me crunch champions is probably that interesting to everybody, but I just wanted to, you know, to record me a little bit of, you know, putting my money where my mouth is and letting you know that all these things I, you know, think might be helpful to you all, I do to my account as well. And that's what I wanted to show here. So I'm going to turn the video off now, just because we all sort of know how this works and there's a lot of clicking. But, you know, this is how I think you can both advance your account, plan for success in Doom Tower, and get yourself a bunch of space left, you know, in your vault and for your champions. You know, hopefully you found this helpful, interesting, or at least thought-provoking. You know, I'd really appreciate a subscribe and a like. It helps the channel. And hopefully you can leverage some of these things here to make your raid experience a better one. This is Ezron, signing off.